Hey guys, welcome to our YouTube channel Mainframe Girls. As a series of IDCAMS videos are going on, and the last video I have made a deletion of VVR and NVR. What will happen when you give a VVR while deleting a data set, and what will happen if you'll give a NVR. And in this video I'll tell you what the difference between SCR and NSCR, which means scratch and no scratch. While deleting, what happens when you give a scratch keyword and what happens when you give a no scratch, and when to give a scratch keyword and when to give a no scratch. Just be tuned. Okay, so the difference between scratch and no scratch, when do you give scratch and when do you give no scratch? Okay, so when you want to delete the data set from the VTalk, which is volume table of contents, okay, from the volume, suppose there's a volume and I told you VTalk is the index of the volume, and if you want to remove the data set, complete data set to be removed from the VTalk of the volume on which it resides, then you give this scratch parameter or SCR. You give SCR, or you can give a complete scratch parameter word. And when do you give a no scratch? No scratch is given when you want to delete a catalog entry. Okay, when you want to delete a catalog entry of that particular data set without mounting the volume. Okay, if you remember, I told you for VVR and NVR that you should know the volume to delete that particular volume record, right? But here the scratch and no scratch, here it's like you will be no, when you give a no scratch, it completely there, you should know just a data set name, that's it. Its catalog entry will be deleted, and in the scratch everything will be deleted of that particular data set. When you give a scratch for a visa, for which data sets you use this scratch means for VSAM data sets and for SMS managed non-VSAM data set, not non-SMS managed. SMS managed means, as I told you before, when you give S in front of the data set, you should be able to see management class, data class, store class of that particular data set. Then it is an SMS managed data set. Okay, so you can use the scratch keyword for a VSAM dataset and a non-VSAM SMS managed non-VSAM dataset. The VSAM VVDS entry is also removed. As I told you, when you give a scratch, everything will be removed. VTalk entry will be removed. VVDS entry will be removed. Okay. So delete scratch will ignore any missing dataset components and will scratch all the dataset parts that can be found at the time of request is issued. Okay. As I told you, if it's a VSAM dataset, it will be have a different components, right? It will be have a data component, index component, alternate index. So it will be having a different components. So it will not check for any data. It will not scratch parameter will not check for any data. It will simply scratch out the whole data set from the system. It will remove its entry from VTalk, from VVDS, everywhere. Even the data set parts will be removed when you give a delete scratch. And when scratch is specified for a VVDS, suppose you directly want to delete a VVDS, okay, means it's a volume data set. Okay, if you directly want to delete a VSAM volume data set, what you will do, the VVDS is scratched directly. You can use that scratch parameter for a VVDS, and the catalog entry of the VVDS is removed, and the VVDS must be empty. So when what happens is, this scenario, you will, if you are a storage admin, you will face this scenario. Sometimes some of the empty spares will have a VVDS predefined. Okay, or it will say a duplicate VVDS specific is there. Okay, at that time you have to delete that particular VVDS, and at that time this scratch parameter will help you there. So if you give the scratch parameter and you run the job IDCAMS scratch, or you can directly specify in front of the dataset delete slash scratch, so then that dataset will be removed, and this duplication, if you see, the volume initialization will be completed properly, but while creating a VVDS dataset, you will get an issue. So at that time, you have to specify the scratch parameter, and it will help you by for creating the next new scratch parameter. I mean, next new VVDS dataset. Coming to no scratch, which I told you, it doesn't require a volume information. It will directly delete a catalog entry if you want to delete that particular in front of that data set. If you give this del NSCR, it will directly delete the catalog entry. Okay, VVDS and VTalk entries are not deleted. Okay, here when you're giving a no, as I told you, scratch is there for a reason. Scratch is to scratch everything, and no scratch, will not remove all the data. It will just remove you from a catalog entry, which is also must needed. Sometimes, as I told you, the data set will be not there, but the catalog entry will be present. Okay, catalog entry will be present. So at that time, you don't want that data set to be in connection with the catalog. At that time, you have to just do you have to do this no scratch, and the connection will be like it will be broke in between the data set and the catalog. Okay, a delete no scratch is allowed on SMS managed VSAM and non-VSAM dataset, and here it is managed on VSAM datasets and SMS managed non-VSAM dataset. Here it is SMS managed VSAM and non-VSAM. Everything should be SMS managed. Okay, non-VSAM datasets. Thus, deleting the BCS entry, it means catalog entry in the catalog without accessing the VVDS or VTOC. It will not access VTOC or VVDS. Okay. So as I told you, here it will be accessing the volume and it will remove everything. Here it will not access the volume. If you doesn't know the volume also, it is no need. Okay, because it will be having a catalog entry. So if you give in 3.4, you can obviously will able to see the data set. Okay, and you're removing that entry connection between that. Okay, no scratch removes the catalog entry for VVDS. If for VVDS also, as I told you here, if you're deleting for a VVDS, you can delete the VVDS entry. Means catalog entry and the data set will also be scratched. Means data will be removed and a catalog entry will be removed. But when you give a no scratch word, only the catalog entry will be removed. Okay, only the catalog entry, but the name will be present. Okay, the name will be present and the catalog entry will be removed. If you want that name to be again you can do a define recatalog, and it is without even defining that particular VVDS data set, you can directly get that from the catalog, and you can directly do a recatalog to a different catalog. If the volume is mounted and you specify no scratch for a VSAM volume dataset, means that is VVDS. If volume is mounted, means volume is there. If it is mounted and you specify no scratch for that VVDS, the catalog entry for the VVDS is removed. As you know, the catalog entry will be removed, and the catalog back pointer, okay, means which is using the back pointer in VSAM volume control record is also removed. Okay, there is two things here. The VVDS, normally when you give a no scratch, catalog entry will be deleted. Maybe you're thinking, why do someone want their catalog entry to be deleted? So what happens sometime when you want to create, instead of that data set, you want another data set to be connected to that data catalog, but this data set is connected. So at that time, you like, suppose think that is one data set and this is a catalog, and if you want this to be connected to this, but also there is another data set, instead of this you want this to be connected to this catalog. At that time, you run a no scratch for this data set and the catalog entry will be deleted, and again you will be running a recatalog for this data set. Again this data set will be cataloged to this. So there are many instances, you don't know how you will be requiring the particular instance. So at that time, you can use this no scratch to remove the catalog entry, and scratch for removing everything from the volume, like from the VTOC and VVDS. Okay, so what are the circumstances should be there to give a scratch and no scratch? Okay, for a scratch, first time, the entry should be there in the master catalog, or whatever the data set you're selecting. Suppose think your data set name is x.y.z. Okay, so this data set, the high level qualifier should be an alias or a catalog's name. Means it should be the name of some catalog, or it should be mapped to a catalog. The catalog information should be there. Okay, and a file parameter is specified. What do you do in a file parameter? You specify a volume. And what are you doing in a scratch? You are deleting a VTOC and VVDS information. So if you are deleting a VTOC and VVDS information, obviously you should know the volume. So for that, you need a file parameter. So if you are running an IDCAMS job, you should specify a file parameter and specify the volume information. Then only the dataset will know, the system will know that particular dataset is there in this volume, and it has to be, and this volume's VTOC and VVDS information has to be erased. And coming to no scratch, here you're deleting a catalog information, right? So, and when you should specify no scratch for the following time. So in this time, you can specify a no scratch, means you want to delete that catalog information. When do you do that? If the format 1 DSCB is dataset control block of a non-VSAM dataset has been already been scratched, means that information is not there in the VTalk, and so you want, so in the volume table of contents, that information is already not there, so you want that dataset to be not to be recognized by the mainframe. So what you will do, you will run a no scratch. So when you run a no scratch, a catalog entry will be deleted and system will not know that there is this dataset, and the connection will be deleted between the system and a catalog. Okay, if you are deleting a non-VSAM dataset that was defined with a device type, there are some device types. Okay, SysDA 3390. These are the DASD type, in which DASD or in which disk that has to be saved. Okay, named by a user. For example, SysDA, and the device type is not valid. What happens is, suppose, see, me thinking that I created a dataset saying that I gave something sysd a or sysdb, and I created saying that this is my unit of my dataset. And now when someone is able to access and that device type is not there, it is not valid. So at that time, what will happen? This dataset you cannot be able to open. So you have to do a no scratch, so that the connection will be deleted, the catalog entry will be deleted, and the dataset will become orphan. Okay. So the other time, if the object is defined in a catalog and you want recatalog the object to the same catalog. Okay, as I told you before, if you want to recatalog the object to the same catalog, first you have to do a no scratch. Means first you will break the connection between the catalog and the dataset. First break it and do a recatalog, again connect it. Okay, so if the object is defined in a catalog and you want to recatalog the object in the same catalog, at that time first you will do a no scratch to remove the connection, and again to again you will run a recatalog to do a connection. Okay, so if you specify scratch when deleting a non-VSAM dataset, okay, as I told you before, there will be a device type which is called esoteric device type. Okay, suppose SysDA. Okay, if you are deleting, suppose if someone is deleting a dataset with scratch, means you are removing everything, and it is defined with SysDA. Okay, so you will face an unsuccessful, your data set will not be deleted in some circumstances when the input and the output configuration is changed, resulting in addition or deletion of one or more esoteric device types. So these esoteric device types are mentioned in the system in the IOGen. It's in the IOGen. It will be configured. Okay, it will say that these are the particular unit types you have to use: 3390, 3380, SysDA, unit, tape. These are some predefined keywords under which some of the devices will be there. Okay, so at that time what happens? So if while creating your data set, suppose you have given some unique in, suppose in this set there is some one or two are the unique device types, and you have given that unique device type while creating, and that unique device type is no more there in the system. So if you want to delete that data set, now you will be not able to deleting, because that particular device type is not there in the system. Okay, if the esoteric device type definitions on the creating and using systems do not match when the catalog is shared between the two systems. Suppose that particular data set is shared between two systems, and that esoteric means whatever the device type definitions are there, it is not matching between the two systems. At that time, the deletion would fail. You may not able to. So it's better if you're running a scratch for a dataset and it's failing. So it's better to check the esoteric type and what is the device type of that particular dataset, and check whether if that particular device type is there in the system or not, if it is still existing, or because it's a mainframe, you don't know it's there from 1950 and the systems will be running from long time. So the units will be there from the long time. If it is an old account, old client, the dataset will be a very old. If you're deleting an old dataset or scratching an old dataset, obviously you have to check this SysDA or esoteric device type thing here. And how to delete it. In 3.4, you can give a del/SCR, or you can run an IDCAMS job. IDCAMS normal job with a scratch parameter, and scratch parameter with the file dd file statement. And if you want me to put the job, I'll put your job in the comments, or if you want, please comment and let me know. I'll just reply to your comment. And here in 3.4, you can give this command in front of the data set. So think that this is your data set, and in front of the data set give del/this, and then after the data set give this NSCR, and the data set will, and dataset will be removed. So in not NSCR, you have to give SCR here, okay, because it's a scratch. Okay, give del slash dataset SCR and the dataset will be removed. Okay, and it will be scratched completely. Coming to no scratch, delete no scratch can result in an uncatalogued SMS managed datasets and cannot be issued against a VSAM dataset which is currently open. Okay, as I told you, what is doing no scratch? No scratch is deleting the catalog, means it is deleting the catalog entry. So obviously it will leave a uncatalogued SMS managed datasets. So there will be, if you are running a no scratch for a dataset, obviously it will be an orphan dataset which is just wandering without any connection to the system. It will be not having any connection. It is just wandering in the system. The dataset is wandering. So what happens? You should not do this when there is a suppose a VSAM dataset is currently open. You should not do this. Okay, because the dataset connection will be removing from the catalog. Okay, if the VVDS indicates that the dataset is owned by a catalog other than the catalog identified through the usual catalog, search order of the delete. A delete no scratch is done against the catalog that resulted from the catalog search and a zero return code is written to the user. Okay, it may be a bit confusing. What it is saying is sometimes a data set, okay, a data set is owned by a catalog. Okay, so there are two catalogs here. One, suppose this is A and B, and this is the data set, your data set. This is owned by a data set. This is owned by a data set. Okay, this is owned by a catalog. Sorry, these are two are the catalog other than a catalog identified through the usual catalog search. But when you're searching, when you're doing a catalog search, it is showing that it is also connected to the B. Okay, this particular data set is connected, but this should be owned by A, not by B. So at that time, you will run a NSCR to this data set, this catalog. So what happens? This when you run an NSCR to this catalog, this connection will be break and this connection will be stay intact. So at that time, it's better to run. You can use this job. This statement means that only when suppose a single data set has both two entries in two data sets, two catalogs, you can run no scratch for one catalog and remove that connection, and one connection can stay intact. In the same way, you can give here also same in 3.4 panel and ISPF panel. You can give del slash dataset name and NSCR. It will do a no scratch on that. Then here also again it will remove that catalog entry. If you want to remove this catalog entry, just do this. This command is like del slash NSCR. It will make like wonders. If that data set is making an issue to you, that there is an issue with that particular data set, just run this del NSCR. It will remove the connection between the catalog and the data set. And again, if you want the data set to be there, just remember all the data and do a recatalog. Define recatalog to that particular thing. So kindly like, share, subscribe our videos, and if you want any other videos, please let us know. And we are trying to make videos more often. So thank you.